Good morning, good morning, good morning, Kimberly. How are you?
I am doing well. Good morning, Lucy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining me today on Destination Loading. Um, Studio, well, audience members, you don't know it's morning for me, but it's actually evening for Kimberly. So I'm really appreciative of her taking time out of her schedule to join us. So where are you joining us from, Kimberly?
So, I am joining you all from South Korea, believe it or not. I've been here for about a month, coming from Joint Base Lewis McChord, where I was working last year in Washington State. So, yeah, it is actually night here for me. We are waiting to see if it's going to snow on us tonight. We're supposed
Oh,
to get some snow in. So, super excited about that. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about being a part of this. I was actually thinking before we got on how we connected and how we had no idea months later we would connect,
right.
but I knew that God did. So thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this and your audience.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And you're right. We actually connected through attending Woman Evolve. And so um, that was an amazing experience. And um, I not only have I connected with you, but I had the privilege of connecting with a lot of other wonderful women, and hoping to have some of those come to the virtual table as well. So very good, thank you. So Kim,
Awesome.
tell the audience, like, so who is Coach K?
So I am a parent and life coach. I I coach parents and individuals on taking their lives back. I love empowering parents that may feel like just because they're a parent that they can't do the things that they've always wanted to do, such as work their dream job or just do whatever they've always dreamed about because they're taking care of their children, they're taking care of their husband, and they're taking care of everybody except for themselves. So as a coach, I want to help parents take that power back. I'm a little girl from Georgia, born and raised, married to the most amazing man, and we have three adorable adult children. They're not little people anymore, but and I just really I love traveling. As I said earlier, I'm in South Korea. I've been here for about a month. I love packing a bag, hopping on a plane, just traveling. So being able to be over here and continue my parent coaching has been a dream come true for me.
Awesome. So how did you make the decision to move to South Korea?
So about 20 years ago, my husband was stationed over here.
Mhm.
So myself and our children, we joined him in Korea. And it was an experience. I had never been out of the country before, but when we came, I was like, "Man, this is pretty cool." And once all of our kids were grown, they're on their own, my husband and I decided, "Hey, you know what? We are empty nesters. We can do whatever we want to do." So we decided that we would pack our bags and move, and here we are.
Wow. You talking about parents reclaiming their lives. I mean, you really are the person to coach somebody to make a move, like an international move. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, because you're speaking to someone who I had a baby at 16. I became a parent at 16.
Mhm.
I lost my mom at 18. And
Wow.
so I had no idea what I was doing as a parent. So I've went from being a teen mom to losing my mom to
Mm.
raising three amazing children. And now here I am living my life, the, the life that I know God has created for me to live.
Wow. So with all of that, I would say that you definitely have to have faith. You've mentioned God several times. So
Yes.
tell us, like, what is your faith and how has it played a role in you being who you are and your business?
So even just mentioning my past to you,
Hmm.
I'm not supposed to be having this conversation with you according to statistics.
Mm,
Growing up in a broken home, a teenage mom, you and I are not supposed to be having this conversation, but God. Um, God has a track record in my life. He has always shown up for me. And so, because I have history with God,
mm.
that has constantly built my faith daily. So, my business, my daily life, everything that I do is built on my faith because God continues to prove himself to me.
Kimberly, you said a lot real quick, but that's a that's a lot. So you said statistically, you and I are not supposed to be having this conversation. Like, tell us, elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, if you look at statistics, if you're a teenage mother that grew up in a dysfunctional home with divorced parents, one who was an alcoholic, statistics says either I'm supposed
Mm,
to be an alcoholic
mm.
or somewhere trying to figure life out. But God had other plans for me.
So, great segue into the next question. So, your life experiences and your faith, because we're talking about faith and it forward, allowed you to ignore the circumstances that were surrounding you, and how did you embody that and move forward in your life?
So my journey has not been easy because you only know what you see, right?
Right.
And so the things that I've seen have been things that have made me wonder and think to myself, like, there has to be more to life than what I
Mm,
see. And so I've taken everything that I've seen and I've used that to build my platform. I'll never forget. So I was in high school, and one of our assignments were, who is someone that is your role model? Like, who do you look up to, and tell
mhm,
us why. And my mother was an alcoholic, but she was my role model. And so I wrote my paper about her, and I said, it's my mom. I said, she does the best that she can with what she has, but I know that I want more than what she's been able to provide for me. And so I've used everything that I have and everything I didn't have to
mm.
build myself up and to be a parent that I wanted for my children.
Wow. So even with the challenge of alcoholism and with it that your mother was dealing with, you still could see and appreciate her as your mother, and she still be your role model. How do you coach other people that are in situations that can't that they feel is overwhelming, right? And that there could be no good in that situation or that person, to see past that and faith it forward.
I think as individuals, sometimes we can look at those situations and we can use them as a crutch. So, first, we have to be open enough to acknowledge and to recognize those journeys in our lives. Yes, they may have been an alcoholic. Yes, you may not have had a great relationship. So, as an individual, what can I do to first forgive that person and forgive myself
Mm-hmm.
for not being forgiving? And
Mm,
then what can I do to work on me
mm,
so that I can move past the hurt and the pain? Because as long as we're sitting in one spot and we're not moving, then we can't go where God wants us to go because we're stuck.
mm-hmm,
So until we're able to figure out what it is that we need to do as an individual, as a parent, to move past the hurt and the pain that has been placed in our lives,
mm-hmm,
it takes work, and it's not easy. But once we get to that place, then we're able to move forward and we're able to forgive people and we're able to see how the things that we thought was hindering us or those barriers that was keeping us from going forward were actually sort of a blessing.
Mm, that's good. That's so good. So, how do you, as a parent, right? How do you, and sometimes as a child, because as we get older, like in my situation, I too lost my mom, but I was blessed to have her a lot more than 18 years in my life. I think I was 43, but but I still have my father who's ill, dealing with some health issues. So how do you help people balance living their life without feeling guilty, right? When they have um, aging parents and with health issues, or children that are heavily dependent upon them. How do you coach them in choosing themselves at times?
You said a whole lot because I've seen all of those scenarios play out. As parents, we do feel guilty for our children, especially like you say, those who depend on us. And then when we have those aging parents, I coach parents first into recognizing that shame and that guilt. Um, so many people live in shame. So many people we just it's part of our emotions and our human nature, and we don't want to say we're guilty because we feel like it's our duty to take care of our parents, right? It's our duty to take care of our kids. But I've always told my kids that my duty was to raise you. At 18, now you're an adult, and I'm more of an advisor in your life as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's my job to advise you, but now you're the adult to make those decisions. And so whatever shame and guilt, there should be no shame and guilt of me feeling because you've done something wrong, or you're making bad choices or bad decisions. So one thing I like to tell my parents is, and initially I get them to journal.
Mm-hmm.
Journaling is powerful, just to write down all of your thoughts, write down all of those feelings and all of those emotions, and then start reading back through those things. You know, what are the themes that you're finding? What are the common denominators that you're finding? And I've
Mm-hmm.
found that that helps parents figure out, okay, I keep seeing this pop up. I keep seeing this pop up. These are some things that I really need to work on. So
Mm-hmm.
journaling and finding those common denominators for a lot of the parents that I work with has been very, very helpful because it gives us something to read, to reread, and it gets us thinking, it gets our minds moving.
That that's true, because when you identify those patterns, those recurring um flags, I call it, what I found, it helped me develop boundaries, right?
Right.
And when you establish those healthy boundaries at first, people don't understand, because before there were no boundaries. The
Right.
borders were wide open. There were no boundaries. But but now you've established these boundaries, and sometimes it takes people a little while to become accustomed to those boundaries, and stop thinking about themselves, because a lot of
Right.
times people have these expectations of you, and they're mainly focused on themselves. Those expectations, they're not
Yeah,
considering the impact that it's having on your life, right?
that's
And
right.
so I think it's very good that you are working with people, especially military. I was, when I first met you and you were telling me how you coach people and the things you coach them on, I was like, where were you all my life? Having been a previous military spouse and married young. So first I
Yeah,
leave my parents' house and become a military spouse. And so, everything is about ensuring that his career is successful, because in the military, as you well know, everything you do as the spouse of that member is held against the member. So, so every action and behavior you have to always consider, is this going to have a negative impact on my husband and his career? Then as you start to have children, well, then there's another layer of yourself you
Yeah.
just lost, right? Because now
Right.
your decisions have to be based on, how is this going to affect my child? Would this allow her to grow up healthy, happy, and whole? And then and a lot of times people sacrifice their own, as parents, we sacrifice our own personal needs to accommodate the family. So how do you coach people to like into self-care? Do you talk about self-care at all?
I do. Self-care is very important, and you hit on a topic that's near and dear to my heart, military. We are a military family, and self-care you can be forgotten about when you're in the military because, again, you're moving around. It's all
Mhm,
about that soldier. You're making sure your soldier is taken care of, and you forget about you as a
mhm,
spouse. So, and as a parent, because as a parent, when you're moving around in the military, you want to make sure that your kids are taken care of. You're trying to make sure that they're making friends, that they feel safe. But again, what about you? So I coach parents on when, especially my military parents, when you're moving around, you have to understand that there still needs to be balance. You still need to make time for you. When that husband goes to PT and work and that kid goes to school, you need to find some time to do something for you. If it's only an hour out of the day, whether that's reading, taking a walk, whatever that looks like for you, and it looks different for everyone, but you need that you time because when you're in the military moving around, you're usually away from family, you're away from friends that you know, and those times can be hard. So you're going to need all the self-care and all the love that you can get. And the military do have resources that I encourage military spouses to use, but when you don't want to use those resources, find a safe space for yourself. And that might even include therapy. I've always welcomed therapy into my home. So
mhm.
if you're a military spouse and you need that safe space or an outlet and you don't know of anyone else, find you a great coach or find you some therapy.
Yes, therapy is good. And I know in my life growing up, that wasn't regularly discussed, right?
Yeah.
Um, but when my mother died, it hit me really hard. To be honest, it took me about 6 years to really
Mm,
get back to a healthy place with that.
mhm.
But I did do grief counseling.
Okay.
And then I read this book, and it really, really helped me because when I lost my mom, I lost a lot of things. That year, I was sick. My career started to take a dive. My mother died, and I got
Wow.
a divorce. So, but I read this book called Good Grief, and it helped me
Mm,
understand, along with therapy. It helped me understand that grief is any loss. You can grieve any loss. And I thought all
right.
of my emotions were about the loss of my mother, but some of those were the loss of other things that I valued that I hadn't fully
Mhm.
dealt with. And so it
Yeah.
connected. So yeah.
And it all comes out, because I found when I was in therapy that I never grieved my mother.
Hmm.
She asked me, "How did you grieve your mother?" And I didn't remember because I never did. I pushed forward. I hid those emotions and those feelings under everything. And now as an adult, all like you say, it started compacting and it all came out. So
Hmm.
grieving is good, and even though it seems bad, but it's a good thing to be able to grieve and release that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what's next for Coach K?
Well, I am super excited to be announcing that I'm releasing my digital course, my first digital course on December the 1st. And the title of my digital course is Landing Your Dream Job While Parenting, a Step by Step Guide. So that will be released December the 1st. And leading up to it, actually next week, I have a 3-day workshop, which is geared towards parents. It's called Unlocking Your Dream Job Potential as a Parent. So that'll be an hour workshop for 3 days leading into my digital course on December the 1st. And all of that can be found on my website.
And what is your website, ma'am?
So my website is coachkimberlysmith.com. And if you want to reach me on Facebook or Instagram, my handler is at Coach Kimberly Smith.
Awesome. And they can also register for the training leading up to the release on your website?
Yep, they can register for the workshop on my website, and soon the link will come out to register for the course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, thank you, Kimberly. This is podcasting is new to me, and so I appreciate you honoring my request to be a part of the show and be a part of my history as I grow and develop. And the goal here is to help people evolve from where they are to where they want to be. And so I try to have people share information that can help other people become the best version of themselves, including me.
Awesome. Well, again, I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and your audience. And I hope that there's something that I can say to help a parent or to help anyone um, be a better parent or just be a better person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Faithing It Forward with Coach Kimberly Smith on Destination Loading with Lucy. Have an amazing Friday.
Thank you. You enjoy your Friday.